sketch.
Hey, Tay, I want to ask you, what makes a hateable villain?
A truly hateable villain.
Yeah, well, like, a villain you really just want to deck in the face.
There's villains that do bad things, and then there's villains that do bad things for no reason, just for the pure fun of it. And those villains are pretty topped off. But I think what makes a truly heinous villain is somebody that kicks a puppy kind of deal, something that you really enjoy and like, and the villain comes in just to ruin it.
That's right. Football punt right in the face.
Football punt right in the face. Who fits that? Mahito.
Good old patch face.
I mean, we've seen enough memes about it. Everyone wants to punch this guy.
I mean, he has such a punchable face.
He definitely has a punchable face and punchable characteristics. We just finished watching the latest episode of JJK Right and Wrong Part 2. I want to give a quick overview of the A plot, and then I'll let you take over at the B plot. But we start off where we left off with Yuji and Nobara fighting Mahito, and Nobara is taking advantage of Mahito by using her soul resonance ability, or I think her resonance ability, I think it's soul, just resonance ability, where she hits Mahito and then Mahito's resonance goes to his other body and reverberates where Yuji is. This gives Yuji hope. He was slowly getting to despair, thinking he was alone, but now all of a sudden he remembers that Nobara is there with him fighting. Nobara realizes that this clone in front of her is a clone, that it's not the actual Mahito. It can't use transfiguration, and it's mostly can only configure its body and fight her using its surroundings. So when both the clone and Nobara know this, the clone runs. And then at the same time, Yuji's giving the 1-2 punches to Mahito where he's at, because he's still getting affected by the resonance, and he's just getting whooped, like oof, oof, 1-2 into the wall straight, and then he runs and split. And as we all think as the audience, he's running towards his clone to merge, and Yuji says even out loud, oh, they're trying to get together, heal up, and power up, right? But then the twist happens, and they run past each other.
Or after Mahito touches Nobara's face, we start to get a flashback, which is told from this character named Fumi. From her point of view, she moved into a rural village and gets picked on. I guess for being an outsider, rural villages are just kind of horrible, or at the very least, the one Nobara came from is just kind of horrible. Fumi meets Nobara and she says, hey, give me your bag. Okay. Nobara then decides to beat up the bullies that picked on Fumi, and she starts to hang out with Fumi more. Those two become friends. And Nobara then takes Fumi over to Sari's house, Sari being the girl that Nobara moved to Tokyo in the first place to go find. They become close friends up until Sari has to leave because everything just becomes way too much for her at the village. And then we get a bit where Fumi and Nobara have grown up a little, and Nobara leaves for Tokyo and says, like, oh, hey, the next time we meet, it will be with all three of us together. And we see tears on Nobara's face as she leaves. And then as the train leaves by, we get a little update on Sari, and she's an adult. She's working at some sort of office in the middle of the night, working on some presentation, typical Japan work hours.
She seems like an editor.
I mean,
proofreading.
We see Nobara, kind of look at all the important people in her life. We see Gojo, we see Midoriya, we see Megami, we see Fumi. She apologizes to Fumi saying, oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't keep my promise. And then we cut out of the flashback, and you could take this on.
And we go back to the A plot. If you haven't seen the episode, watch it. This is the big spoiler. With every flashback in JJK, it ends with Nobara dying.
Yeah. She turns to Yuji, says, tell everyone I've had a good life, and then her face explodes.
It's a very sad, happy moment where at least we know she lived a good life. We saw her flashback, and Nobara is a great character. Before we go over some of the highlights of the episode, in that comment section, tell us why you think Nobara is best girl. In the flashback that is from Fumi's perspective, we see bullies put Fumi's blue backpack on top of a shelf. Fumi now has to get a chair. She's a young child, so it's a really high shelf, and she's pulling it down, and it looks like it's about to fall and hit her, and Nobara catches it. And it shows Nobara's willingness to be a helpful person and wanting to help people that are weak, and being a good person, like a real hero kind of person. And I think this was a great character moment for Nobara, and it really enforces who she is as a person.
For myself, it would be when Nobara is leaving for Tokyo. We see she's crying because usually Nobara is pretty depicted as the usual tough girl. She doesn't really care all that much. She's usually pretty tough. I guess I wouldn't say no nonsense, but she's usually
she's a lot of nonsense, but she's your I'm not gonna cry, I'm the it girl.
We do see her crying.
And it's a very touching moment because she also cried when Sari leaves. That's when she was a lot younger. And Fumi's like, is she not gonna cry for me? But she does. She does cry. She doesn't want to leave her friend, but she also doesn't want to stay in this village. And it's this dichotomy of Nobara that she wants her friend to come with her. But it shows that she really loves Fumi, that they are great friends.
Oh, yeah, they were pretty close friends, and she had one portion of her life torn away, and then she had a second portion of her life torn away when she went to Japan when she had to leave Fumi behind.
Another great character scene. This is a great character scene in the sense that the character is doing what the character expected to do, and it's correct. Not that it's a good scene, but we see Mahito being cunning again. Mahito's greatest skill set so far hasn't been overwhelming strength or the most overpowered curse technique. It's his cunningness and his ability to do anything and everything to take advantage of the situation. After Nobara discovers that the clone can't transfigure her, he retreats, and then the switcheroo that he does to catch Nobara off guard really gets her and really gets us, the audience. And this is a great moment for Mahito because it shows he's a scum, but a smart scum. That he is a worthy villain for us to defeat. He is not your typical run-of-the-mill Raditz. He's somebody that is going to be worth the fight. Another great world-building moment, if you guys notice, is there's a flashback scene where it says 2009. If you didn't know, in 2008 and 9, the Wii came out. Since Nobara lives in a rural village, right, they don't actually have the Wii. They have the GameCube, and they're playing, I would say, not Melee, but basically Melee, because he says you have to keep them off the edge, and they also talk about wave dashing in there.
You would bring up Melee.
I just thought it was great world development,
I thought it was a cool detail, yeah.
Right. Now, I don't know if they did the GameCube part on purpose because they're in a rural village. Since they're in a rural village, it makes sense that they wouldn't be the first people to have a Wii. Was there any other points that you thought were a great plot point?
As for plot points, I don't really have too much to say. This was another JJK episode where a lot of it was fighting, and then just flashbacks for a character who, about to die. Yeah, 2 in a row, man.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. I think a great plot point was the cone ability being explained by Nobara, so we don't feel like we're being tricked by Mahito, but then we are. It's like all the revelations that Nobara and Yuji made were revelations that we would make as the audience in that fight. Like, oh, he's trying to merge back together to heal. Oh, his clone can't transfigure me, because if he could, he would have grabbed me. Did you see any improvements that could have been made in the episode?
Not really. I guess the only real question I have is why didn't Nobara react faster? Because she's usually pretty quick on her feet.
Right, she had that little stunt, like she was just stunned looking at Yuji and let Mahito come run up on her. Maybe she was just surprised. I mean, we don't know. They do slow down the scene, so we don't know how long she actually had before Mahito came and actually got her. I think if they showed like a scene where she jumped back a bit and then still got touched, it'd be a little bit more convincing. But it's still a great scene. It does what it's supposed to do. A quick overall summary of the episode is we start off with Yuji fighting Nobara. He's already on the pit of despair after losing Nanami, but now he finds Nobara just to then lose her. This is what I think makes Mahito the best villain in this series so far.
How would you rank this episode? Personally, I would rank it probably top 3.
Top 3? I was saying top 5. I have every episode Toji's in is always a banger.
Yeah.
Then you have the Gojo in the train, and then you have Sukuna versus Maharaga, and there's a lot of good episodes that have great fight scenes, great choreography. Do you have any predictions for how Yuji's gonna grow from here on out? And just an update, neither one of us has read the manga, so we do see little threads and clips in Twitter or on Instagram, but nothing to the extreme where we would know what's gonna happen. What do you think is gonna be Yuji's growth?
He's probably going to get a power of some kind. I don't know if it's going to be a new curse technique. Maybe a little bit more Sukuna pops out. I don't think Sukuna would pop out for a second time this arc.
My guess is his 1-2 punch is going to go to a 1-2-3 punch. I don't think Yuji's power set is ever going to change from punching. He has not shown anything else other than punching. Maybe memory manipulation, but it doesn't seem like Yuji's memory manipulation would work on Mahito if he has that ability. It's just the 2 people he fought whose memories changed were both human. We don't know if they just changed because they liked Yuji or if Yuji caused it, or if there's another factor that we don't know. But I don't think Yuji's punch. I think Yuji's just gonna punch harder. He's gonna go for the Goku power up.
He's going to pop Nanami's record of 4 black flashes in a row.
Oh, I didn't think of that, but yeah, maybe.
Who do you think is going to die next?
Well, I think it's Panda. What do you think is gonna happen next?
I mean, that bear is probably going to die. As for what's going to happen next, oh man, I would be amazed if Mahito didn't die or was about to die in the next episode.
I think Mahito's gonna run away. away.
Do you?
He has gotten away once already. No, twice. He got away from Nanami the first time. He got away from Nanami and Yuji the second time. It would make sense that he could get away from Yuji again. I mean, Yuji barely caught up to him now, and he only caught up to the clone.
You think Yuji's... Ah, man. No, because I don't think Yuji's gonna let him get away this time.
It's not about letting. I mean, I don't think he would have let him get away the first time. I think he just gets away. Do I think he's gonna take a bunch of punches before that happens?
I mean, he's probably... Yeah, you're right. Yuji's probably gonna speedball him a second time.
I hope so. I hope that happens. But at the same time, since Yuji's soul might be wavering, Mahito might be able to take advantage, at least in some degree, of that and then get away. That's a possibility. But that's all we have for this JJK episode. Thanks for listening. Please hit that subscribe button. Have a good day.
Laters.